The airport was loud with rolling suitcases, crying children, and boarding calls. Yet all Maya could hear was the thundering of her own heart. Her fingers trembled as she clutched the boarding pass, eyes flicking nervously toward the tall figure striding toward her. "Don't do this, Maya," Ethan's voice cracked, his American accent thick with desperation. His blue eyes searched hers, raw and pleading. "We've been through everything together. You can't just throw us away for him." Her chest tightened, but before she could speak, another voice cut through the chaos. "Maya!" The sound of her name on Daewon's lips was soft yet commanding. The young Korean man, flawless suit, dark eyes sharp with intensity, stood just a few feet away. Unlike Ethan, he wasn't begging. He simply extended his hand toward her, calm and steady, as if he already knew she belonged with him. Every gaze in the terminal seemed to lock on her. People paused, watching as if it were a scene ripped from a movie. Ethan grabbed her arm. Daewon reached out his hand. Maya was caught between two worlds, one familiar and safe, the other dangerous, unknown, yet irresistible. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "The heart doesn't choose what's easy. It chooses what it wants." Tears stung her eyes. Ethan's grip tightened. Daewon's gaze burned into her soul. And in that moment, with the weight of two futures crushing her chest, Maya knew. Whatever she chose would change her life forever. The silence after her decision was deafening. Maya's trembling hand slipped free from Ethan's grip, and with one shaky breath, she placed it in Daewon's. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan's face went pale, as though the ground had been ripped from beneath him. "Maya, you can't be serious," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking. His hand hung in the air, desperate, but she didn't return to him. Daewon's hand closed around hers firmly, a shield against the chaos. He didn't gloat, didn't smirk. He simply pulled her gently toward him, his expression unreadable yet protective. Ethan's pain turned quickly to anger. "You don't even know him. He'll use you, Maya. And when he's done, where will you be? Alone, broken, and I won't be here anymore." His words sliced through the air, sharp and bitter. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to look away from Daewon. "I know enough," she said softly, her voice trembling but resolute. "Enough to know he sees me, in a way you never did." Daewon's jaw tightened, his hand tightening around hers as though to anchor her. Without another word, he turned, guiding her toward the exit. Cameras flashed, paparazzi had already begun to swarm, sensing a scandal. Ethan's final words echoed behind her like a curse. "You'll regret this, Maya. You'll regret him." But as Daewon pulled her through the flashing lights and roaring whispers, Maya whispered to herself, "Then let me regret it, on my own terms." The car door slammed shut, muffling the chaos outside. Maya sat in stunned silence as Daewon's driver sped them away from the flashing cameras. Her heart pounded, not just from the choice she'd made, but from the storm she knew was waiting for her. Daewon finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "You didn't have to choose me, Maya. Not like that." She turned to him, anger flashing through her tears. "You think I don't know that?" "Ethan never saw me, Daewon. Not really." "You," she broke off, pressing a hand to her chest. "You looked at me like I mattered." Daewon's jaw clenched, his usual calm cracking for the first time. He looked out the window as if afraid his eyes would betray too much. "If you knew who I really was, you might regret standing beside me tonight." Her brows furrowed. "What are you talking about?" He hesitated, then met her gaze. His voice was rough, weighted with a truth he'd carried too long. "My name alone can destroy lives. My family owns one of the largest conglomerates in Korea. To them, I'm not a son. I'm a weapon." Maya's breath caught. Suddenly, everything, the bodyguards at a distance, the whispers in the club, the way people bowed when he passed, clicked together. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his face hardening. "They know about you," he said grimly, "and they won't let this go." Maya had never felt so small in her life. The black sedan rolled through towering iron gates, revealing a mansion that looked more like a fortress. Every step she took beside Daewon felt like walking into a lion's den. Inside, the air was heavy with power and judgment. His parents sat on a long table, dressed in elegance that seemed cold rather than grand. Daewon stood tall, but Maya's hands trembled at her sides. "So this is the girl?" Mrs. Park's voice sliced through the silence, her eyes narrowing at Maya as though she were dirt beneath their polished floors. Maya swallowed hard, forcing herself not to look away. "Yes, ma'am," she said softly. Daewon's father leaned forward, his expression unreadable but dangerous. "You left an American man for him?" he asked, voice sharp, each word like a blade. Maya's chest tightened. "I left because I love him." The room erupted in cruel laughter. Mrs. Park sneered. "Love? Do you think love feeds empires? Do you think love will protect him from scandal?" She turned to Daewon. "Your weakness will ruin us." Daewon's fist slammed against the table, startling everyone. "She's not my weakness," he growled. "She's the only thing keeping me sane in this prison you built." The silence that followed was deafening. Mrs. Park rose slowly, her eyes burning with venom. "Then hear this, Maya. If you stay, we will break you, and you will wish you had never stepped into this house." The morning after that chilling dinner, Maya found herself standing alone in the massive kitchen of the Park estate. The staff moved around her quickly, whispering in Korean, their eyes flicking toward her with judgment and disdain. She already felt like an intruder. Then Mrs. Park walked in. Her heels clicked sharply on the marble floor, and silence fell instantly. Every maid froze. Maya's heart pounded as those cold eyes landed on her. "You," Mrs. Park said firmly. "Come." Maya followed her into the courtyard, where a long table was set with flowers, dishes, and glasses of wine. But this wasn't a celebration. It was a test. A group of high society women sat waiting, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Mrs. Park smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Ladies, this is my son's choice." The women chuckled, scanning Maya from head to toe like she was on display. One leaned forward. "Such an unusual match. Tell me, Maya, what can you possibly offer him?" Maya's throat tightened. Before she could answer, Mrs. Park motioned to the table. "Serve them." Maya blinked. "Excuse me." "Serve them," Mrs. Park repeated, her voice icy. "If you want to stand beside my son, start from where you belong." Her hands shook as she picked up the tray, humiliation burning through her veins. Laughter echoed around her as one of the women deliberately knocked over her glass, watching red wine splash across Maya's dress. Maya stood frozen, trembling, but inside something fierce began to stir. The red wine clung to Maya's white dress, dripping down to the floor. The women burst into laughter, their manicured hands covering sneers that cut deeper than any blade. For a moment, Maya wanted to disappear. The shy girl in her wanted to run and cry. But then she saw him, Jisoo. He had walked into the courtyard silently, standing at the edge of the crowd. His eyes locked on hers, not with pity, but with quiet strength, urging her to stand tall. Something inside her snapped. Maya set the tray down with a loud clang. The laughter died instantly. She straightened, her chin rising as her trembling stilled. Her voice, calm but sharp, cut through the air. "You asked me what I can offer him?" she said, staring directly at the woman who had mocked her. "I offer something none of you have. Loyalty that isn't bought by wealth, love that isn't measured by status, and the courage to stand here even when you try to humiliate me." Gasps rippled across the table. Mrs. Park's face tightened, her smile fading. Maya took a step closer, her stained dress clinging to her, her eyes blazing with unshaken pride. "You wanted me to serve you. Fine. But never mistake service for weakness. I know who I am." The courtyard fell silent. Even Mrs. Park, for the first time, had no words. From the corner, Jisoo's lips curved into the faintest smile. Maya had drawn the first line in a battle that had only just begun. Mrs. Park's silence didn't last long. Behind her composed smile, a storm brewed. As the guest whispered, she raised her glass gracefully, pretending nothing had happened. But her eyes, sharp and calculating, never left Maya. Later that night, when the lights dimmed and the guests departed, Mrs. Park sat in her private lounge with two of her closest allies. "That girl thinks she can challenge me?" she said coldly, her voice like ice. "She doesn't belong in Jisoo's world." And I will make sure she remembers that. Her friend leaned forward. What will you do? Mrs. Park's lips curled into a smirk. Destroy her quietly, piece by piece. If she wants to fight, she'll regret ever stepping into this family's shadow. Meanwhile, Maya sat alone in her small room, staring at her stained dress folded neatly on the chair. The humiliation still burned, but so did the fire inside her. Jisu's silent encouragement replayed in her mind. She hadn't backed down, and she never would. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. You don't belong here. Leave him before it's too late. Her chest tightened. She glanced out the window, but the street was empty. The message came again, this time with a photo. Her walking home earlier that evening. Maya's blood ran cold. Someone was watching her. She didn't know it yet, but Mrs. Park's war had already begun. Maya's hands trembled as she shoved the phone under her pillow. She didn't want Jisu to see it, not tonight. He was already carrying the weight of his mother's disapproval, and she refused to add her fear to his burdens. But hiding the truth came at a cost. At breakfast the next morning, Maya tried to act normal, forcing smiles and laughter. Jisu noticed immediately. His gaze lingered on her pale face, the way her fork barely touched the food. You're not telling me something, he said softly. Before Maya could answer, Mrs. Park entered the dining room. Her voice cut through the air like a blade. Jisu, a word with you. Alone, Maya's chest tightened. She excused herself, leaving the two of them behind. But as she reached the hallway, she paused. Through the half-open door, Mrs. Park's words drifted out, sharp and venomous. She's a distraction. That girl will ruin everything you've worked for. Do you think the board will ever accept her? Or do you want to throw away your entire future for someone who doesn't belong here? Jisu's voice was firm, though laced with pain. Mother, I love her. Nothing you say will change. That. Maya's eyes filled with tears. His words gave her strength, but also fear. If Mrs. Park was willing to go this far, what else was she capable of? And just then, her phone buzzed again. This time the message read, "The next warning won't be so gentle." Maya's heart thumped as she stared at the threatening message. Her fingers shook, and before she could react, the phone slipped from her grasp and clattered to the floor. Jisu rushed over instantly. Maya, what's wrong? She wanted to lie, but the fear in her chest finally spilled over. With trembling hands, she showed him the screen. His jaw tightened, fury darkening his eyes. Who sent this? He demanded. Maya shook her head. I don't know, but I feel like I'm being watched. Jisu clenched his fists. Enough is enough. I'll protect you, Maya, no matter what it costs. Before Maya could reply, the door burst open. Mrs. Park stepped inside, her expression unreadable. Her cold eyes dropped to Maya's phone lying on the floor. So, you've finally seen it, she said quietly. Maya's stomach twisted. What do you mean? Mrs. Park's lips curved into a chilling smile. Did you really think I'd let a foreign girl ruin my son's legacy? Consider this your warning. Leave him now, or things will get much worse. Maya's knees nearly gave way. It wasn't just a faceless stranger behind the threats. Jisu's own mother was orchestrating everything. Mother! Jisu's voice roared with betrayal. How could you? Mrs. Park's gaze hardened. Because I refuse to let you destroy yourself. Maya stood frozen, caught between Jisu's love and his mother's venom. The wedding hall glittered with lights, the air thick with anticipation. Guests whispered as Maya, radiant in her gown, walked slowly down the aisle. Her eyes locked on Jisu, his gaze fierce with love and determination. But just as the vows were about to begin, the heavy doors slammed open. Mrs. Park stormed in, flanked by reporters and angry relatives. This marriage is a disgrace, she shouted. She doesn't belong here. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Maya froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Cameras flashed as Mrs. Park waved a folder filled with fabricated evidence meant to destroy Maya's name. Jisu, without hesitation, snatched the papers and ripped them apart in front of everyone. Enough, Mother, his voice echoed through the hall. If loving Maya is a disgrace, then I'll proudly carry it all my life. The hall fell silent. Maya's eyes welled with tears. For the first time, she realized just how much he was willing to lose for her. Then unexpectedly, Maya's former American boyfriend, Ethan, who had been quietly invited by Mrs. Park to cause further chaos, stepped forward. But instead of siding with her, he looked at Maya and said, "She chose love over comfort." And for once, I respect that. The room erupted in applause. Mrs. Park, defeated and humiliated, stormed out. Jisoo gently cupped Maya's face. "No more fear from today. It's just us." With tears streaming, Maya whispered, "Yes." Forever, the priest's voice rang out, sealing their vows. Love had triumphed. The moral lesson of this story is that love is not about race, nationality, or wealth. It is about trust, respect, and the courage to choose what truly makes your heart happy.